have some of you guys ever wondered why Khabib and Tony Ferguson never fought? If you want to know, we have to go all the way back to 2015 where it all started. So yeah, in today's video, guys, I'm going to be talking about why Khabib and Tony never fought. Let's get further. So, Tony Ferguson and Khabib were supposed to fight December 11th for the Ultimate Fighter 22 finals. But then, about a month left, Khabib pulls out due to a rib injury. So they have Edson Barboza fight Tony as the replacement, which ended up being one of the best UFC classic fights in history. But as Khabib was gonna fight Tony in 2016, that wasn't the case. That was not the case. So then in 2016 they were supposed to fight April 16th for UFC on Fox. But about 11 days before the fight, Tony Ferguson pulls out due to having a lung issue. So the replacement was Daryl Horchey, who mind you at the time was not with the UFC. So they found him as the replacement, and Khabib ended up getting the knockout. So another year went by, and they were supposed to fight March 4th, 2017. I think it was for UFC 209. But then, the day before the fight, Khabib gets hospitalized due to being sick to weight cut. So the fight gets canceled. But the crazy thing about that is that before the day before Khabib got hospitalized, Tony Ferguson was on an interview. This was years later. He's saying, "I was at the same gym as Khabib, because when UFC fighters fight, they eventually be at the same gym, sometimes, because there's not really that much gyms to go to." And because he was practicing his boxing, because like Sambo, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, all that other stuff. So yeah. And then he said he looked fine to me. He said he made the weight. He said we'll make this fight happen. So something like that. And then apparently the next day he pulls out. He felt that doesn't that sound suspicious to any of you guys? But now let's get back into it. So they didn't find him a replacement. So they ended up fighting in 2008, April 18, 2018. But the thing is, Tony torn his knee up on a wire, because they were supposed to fight for a vacant lightweight belt, if I'm not mistaken on that, and which forced him to pull out. Then they found a replacement, which was Max Holloway. And mind you, Max Holloway at the time was the featherweight champion. So I think Khabib was going down, or Max Holloway was going up to fight for it. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but all I know, they were set to fight. But the day before the fight, Max Holloway has to pull out due to the USADA saying he was unsafe due to the weight cut. So then they have Al Lucada fight for the belt, and the name's right up here. Al wasn't ineligible to win the fight. So to win the belt, I mean. So if he won the fight, the belt, he wouldn't have the belt, because he had missed weight. So they just had Khabib fight him, just to fight him. So Khabib won the fight by unanimous decision. After all that, they waited 2 years. Khabib made 2 defenses against Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, and then Tony Ferguson had 2 fights, beating Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone, both by stoppage. He stopped Anthony Pettis because Anthony Pettis had a broken hand, and then the fight with him and Donald Cerrone had to be stopped because Donald Cerrone had an eye injury, and then that was that. Then they were scheduled to fight. It seemed like the 5th time was going to be the charm. But that wasn't the case. The fight ended up pulling out because Khabib got COVID and he couldn't make it to America. But some people believe that he was in America, went back to Russia to claim he was sick. I don't know how true that is, but I did hear that's what the case was. So Tony Ferguson ended up fighting Justin Gaethje for the interim title, and you guys know how that went. It was a good fight until the fight ended up being stopped. I believe that the fight never happened because Khabib didn't want to fight him at whatsoever. I feel like Khabib never took risk at all whatsoever. He never once took risk. He always fought people that he knew that wouldn't be trouble for him to beat. Yeah, I know Dustin Poirier and all that. He fought Dustin Poirier, which is kind of a challenge, but he's a better wrestler than Dustin Poirier. Conor McGregor, he didn't fight Conor McGregor wasn't in his prime at that time. I do think, in my opinion, if Conor McGregor was in his prime at the time, he would have knocked out Khabib, or probably would have done better than what he did in the fight. I just believe that all Khabib was doing was making excuses. I don't believe that he went to America and came back to Russia. I just believe that he canceled his ticket and just didn't want to fight him. But after all that, and then they didn't end up fighting, there was a lot of negotiations saying if Khabib ducked or that all the stuff was true. Like I said, I believe that Khabib just didn't take risk. I believe that he didn't want to fight Tony Ferguson. Nor do I think Conor McGregor wanted to fight Tony Ferguson. I feel like Tony Ferguson, there were certain people who ducked him, like Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson. But Conor McGregor ducking Tony Ferguson, that's maybe for another video. But yeah, but that is the storyline on why Khabib and Tony Ferguson never ended up fighting. And I do believe after when Tony tore his knee, I believe that's when Khabib started wanting to fight him because he wouldn't be such more trouble because he has a torn knee. But that's the storyline. Like I said, I believe all Khabib was doing was just avoiding and ducking. But that's going to be the end of the video here, guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Turn on notifications when you guys want to see when I upload. And I'll see you guys in the next one. But for now, I am out. Peace.